This page is the front cover of issue 32, featuring a character from 40 Winks prominently, which is getting the world's first review. Shame that cracker wasn't released on the N64 in the end. It looked promising. The cover also hypes up previews and reviews for some top games, like Perfect Dark, showcasing 4 pages of new shots, and a full UK review of Hybrid Heaven. You've also got Pokemon Snap featured, letting you catch 'em on camera. There's a massive preview for Rainbow Six, promising action for those terrorists, and mentions of South Park Rally, Chef's Love Shack, Knockout Kings, and Turok Rage Wars. Plus, they were giving away a free Shadow Man solution book, and running a big prize draw. This page is a subscription offer for the magazine itself. You could subscribe and save money, getting a free N64 game from a selection including Zelda 64, GoldenEye, and Banjo-Kazooie, plus a free strategy guide. This page is the contents page for issue 32, welcoming readers and listing the articles within, including previews for Perfect Dark and Rainbow Six, and reviews for games like 40 Winks, Hybrid Heaven, and Pokemon Snap. This page dives straight into a preview for Rainbow Six. It covers the premise of this post-Cold War tactical shooter, where you lead an anti-terrorist unit taking on global threats. The article notes its connection to the Tom Clancy novel, and compares it to the stealth aspects of GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, highlighting the strategic depth required against intelligent enemies. A key differentiator discussed is the focus on controlling an entire team, rather than just a single operative, especially in the campaign mode. The preview shows screenshots, including one on a San Francisco rooftop reminiscent of Perfect Dark's visuals, and another demonstrating night vision. It also touches upon the mission planning screens like roster, kit, intel, and team setup, essential for success. Red Storm developed it, with Sapphire Handling Publishing, and it was set for a November release. The sidebar on the left just repeats the list of games from the contents page. This page continues the look at Rainbow Six, getting into the nitty-gritty of how the game actually plays out. It really hammers home that success isn't about running and gunning, it's all in the planning. Hence, the man with the plan. You see those map screens there, showing how you set up routes for your teams using waypoints? That's the absolute core of it. You got to figure out the approach, which is different for every mission. There's a bit about Silent Kill, explaining how the PC game had clever AI, and the N64 version seems to handle your teammates well, covering your back and being smart enough. Then it walks you through the very first mission, Cold Thunder, step by step with screenshots. You see the blue and red teams scouting, spotting guards, and taking them down carefully. It shows the approach to the house and entering the cellar. Finally, it covers rescuing the hostage and getting out. It perfectly demonstrates that careful, coordinated approach that Rainbow Six is all about. You also get glimpses of other missions, like storming the Houses of Parliament and a villa, highlighting the varied locations. It's all about tactics and executing the plan you set up beforehand, which is what made Rainbow Six stand out on the N64. This page really delves into the gameplay of Rainbow Six, stressing how crucial stealth and tactical planning are. It highlights the importance of not being seen, explaining how choosing the right uniform like camo or desert is vital for different environments, and you need to consider the 3 types of armor, light, medium, and heavy, balancing protection with mobility and noise. You see screenshots showing various mission locations, from indoor corridors and the Houses of Commons, to jungle areas and outdoor street scenes, reinforcing the game's global scope. It touches on the computer-controlled teammates, saying they're smart and helpful, covering your back and handling enemies effectively. But beware, the enemy AI is also cunning. They'll react to noise, investigate, and work together, making them a real challenge. The page mentions 2-player co-op, which sounds brilliant for executing those carefully planned assaults. There's a hint about the overall plot involving an international conspiracy and biological warfare, leading to a global threat. The preview version shows promise, particularly with the tactical planning screen, and the focus on teamwork and cooperation, setting it apart from typical deathmatch games. It confirms the game wasn't out yet at the time this was written, targeting a November release. Perfect Dark, showcased at ECTS, builds upon the success of GoldenEye, created by the same team. This futuristic action game, a priority for Nintendo, features an enhanced engine for faster gameplay and larger levels. The article highlights screenshots showcasing various aspects, including rappelling, corridor combat, and multiplayer. Improved enemy AI is mentioned, though some enemies remain vulnerable. The protagonist, Joanna Dark, is a lethal and highly trained character. Perfect Dark utilizes vertical space more than GoldenEye, Deathmatch is improved, and character customization, including the ability to use your own face, is included. With a UK release planned for April 2000, there's anticipation for further details about this title from Rare. This page carries on with the Perfect Dark preview, diving deeper into some fantastic details. We learn about Simulant City, which is basically how the game handles A-bots, even giving you friendly simulants to fight alongside you in deathmatch, which sounds brilliant. There are shots showing these grey aliens assisting Joanna in combat. The article highlights some of the weapons, like the laptop gun that can deploy as a turret, and the futuristic Farsight rifle with its X-ray vision, allowing you to shoot through walls. Truly innovative stuff. They also mention how the level design lets you interact more, like dropping off ledges, something you couldn't do in GoldenEye. Speaking of GoldenEye, the classic temple and complex deathmatch levels are confirmed to be back, but the gameplay sounds faster, and you can't just camp like before. A major point is the confirmation that the game runs much faster than GoldenEye, without the slowdown that sometimes occurred, which is great news for multiplayer. And yes, for a bit more realism, there's now blood splatter when you hit enemies. We see screenshots of Joanna's dropship, various indoor environments showing off the lighting and metal surfaces, the Farsight view, the simulants in action, and even the blood effects. The only real downer is the news that the release date has unfortunately slipped back from Christmas to April 2000. This page gives us a look at two South Park titles hitting the N64. First, there's South Park Rally, described as a proper rally game with decent handling, featuring the kids and other characters racing in their unique vehicles around locations from the show. It promises new voice samples from Matt Stone and Trey Parker themselves. Developed by Acclaim Studios Austin, and published by Acclaim, it was slated for a UK release in December 1999. There are some decent screenshots showing off the different races and environments. Below that we get a preview of Chef's Love Shack. This one's a 4-player party game, mainly focused on trivia about the South Park series. You can play as Stan, Kyle, Cartman or Kenny, competing in quizzes and minigames. They mention it's likely for a slightly older crowd than your usual party games. Isaac Hayes is back as the voice of Chef, and like the rally game, it features new voice clips. Acclaim also handled this one, with a UK release planned for November 1999. Screenshots show the trivia setup, and some of the minigames. This page is all about Knockout Kings 2000. It's esports boxing title for the N64, developed by Black Ops and due out in the UK in early November. It looks like a mix of simulation and arcade boxing. You can create your own boxer, as shown in the Epiti da Fool section, even trying to recreate characters like Mr. Sasta, which is a fun touch. There's a big focus on the career mode, where you start as an unknown and work your way up the rankings to challenge famous fighters like Ali, Lennox Lewis, and Holyfield. Your boxer improves by boosting their power, speed, and stamina stats through training, which has different options like offense and defense, as detailed in the Age of the Train section. The screenshots show the character creation menus, the career ranking screen with names like Ali and Lennox Lewis, and plenty of in-ring action showcasing the fighters and the arenas. They mention the game has a simple control system, and that good punches are highlighted by flashes of light, adding to that arcade feel. Looks promising, and they say a full review is coming in the next issue. This page gives us a look at Xena, Warrior Princess, the Talisman of Fate, which is shaping up to be a fighting game on the N64. It's based on the popular TV show, promising easily recognizable characters, and 4-player action, which is always a bonus on the N64. It's a 3D fighter, allowing players to use the environment in the arenas. The article mentions characters like Xena, Callisto, Autolycus, played by Bruce Campbell, Caesar, Dahak, and others from the show. They highlight that the character models look remarkably like their real-life counterparts, which is impressive for the time. The preview mentions playing the game at the London ECTS show, and being impressed with how fast and smooth it felt, even though it wasn't finished. Controls were easy to pick up, and special moves, like Xena's Chakram, are included. Beyond the versus fighting, there's also a 1-player quest mode to find the Talisman of Fate, published by Titus and developed by Sapphire, with a UK release planned for December. Looking forward to the review in a couple of issues. It seems like a solid beat-em-up entry for the console, something the N64 could certainly use more of. This page gives us a preview of Cyber Tiger, esports take on golf on the N64, featuring a sort of transformed version of Tiger Woods. It looks quite cartoony despite aiming for some realistic ball physics. The preview highlights some mad challenge courses alongside real ones, mentioning strange fairways and even crocodiles. It uses the analog stick for control, which is a change from the button push systems used in other golf games like Mario Golf. There's a career mode where you build up your own golfer, and you can play as or against Cyber Tiger Woods himself, which the preview says is a challenge. Screenshots show various courses, including what looks like a desert course, and a Scottish-inspired one, along with the character swinging. Published by eSports, it was due out December 10th. Also on the page is an advert for Racing Simulation, Monaco Grand Prix from Ubisoft, with ratings of 89% and 87% and a release date of September 99. This page gives us a preview of Earthworm Jim 3D, marking the worm's first venture into the world of polygons on the N64. Apparently Jim's brain is scrambled, and you've got to travel through his subconscious, exploring levels based on his phobias and memories. The preview mentions encountering classic characters, like Evil the Cat and Professor Monkey Forehead, alongside new foes like the Disco Zombies. It highlights the arcade elements and subgames, suggesting a shift from the classic 2D style. It was published by Virgin Interactive and developed by Interplay/Vs, aiming for a September 1999 UK release. The page also features an advert for the Equalizer cheat cartridge for the N64, promising access to hundreds of cheats, space to store more, and features like a code generator and RAM viewer. It was priced at £19.99. This page previews Turok: Rage Wars, highlighting its focus on multiplayer deathmatch action over traditional single-player missions, much like Quake 3. It features all the characters from Turok 2 plus new ones, including intelligent bots for single-player combat. The game offers 6 modes like Capture the Flag, new weapons with secondary fires, and a training mode. Published by Acclaim, it was developed by Acclaim Studios Austin and hit the UK in October 1999. The page also contains large adverts for cheat and walkthrough hotlines. This page has a preview of Rocket, Robot on Wheels, which apparently was a surprise hit from that year's ECTS show by Ubisoft. It talks about the realistic physics engine mentioned in the previous issue, noting how the main character, Rocket, uses a tractor beam to pick up objects and how their inertia affects him. The preview highlights puzzles like using the tractor beam to pile objects, or velcroing sheep to walls, and collecting Tinker tickets to gain new abilities. Developed by Sucker Punch, it was planned for a UK release in December. The page also features a large advert for Computer Exchange selling Dreamcasts and games, and a comic strip. This page continues the ECTS roundup, looking at more N64 games that were shown off there. Ridge Racer 64 was playable, a demo with a single track. It felt like a fun racer, handling well and looking sharp, running at a good rate. It really looks set to be one of the best racers on the N64. You see the character Reiko Nagase there, and screenshots of the racing action. Castlevania 2, which turned out to be Legacy of Darkness, was there in demo form. It looked pretty similar to the first one, being a prequel, but they'd apparently fixed the camera, which was good news. You could play through a couple of levels and fight a few bosses. Taz Express was playable for the first time in English. It came across as a fast-paced game with nice character animation. Infogrames didn't have a firm date, but it was expected sometime the next year. You see screenshots of Taz in different levels. Harvest Moon 64 made its English debut at ECTS, after being shown in Japanese at E3. This one was pretty unique for the N64, a mix of RPG elements with loads of characters and farm management like Sim City. You could do things like forage, race, and even take photos. It was slated for a UK release the following year, which sadly never actually happened. There are screenshots showing the farm and characters. Space World 99 showcased several upcoming Nintendo 64 titles. The 64DD, though Japan exclusive, made an appearance with several planned games like Zelda, Talent Studio, Paint Studio, and Doshin the Giant. Cartridge games included Mario Party 2, promising new minigames, Zelda Gaiden, later known as Majora's Mask, requiring the expansion pack, and Excitebike 64, aiming to be the definitive dirt bike game. Kirby 64, later Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, was confirmed as a platformer. Other highlights included mini racers, Super Mario RPG 2 Paper Mario, Mother 3 cancelled on N64, and Custom Robo, a Japan-exclusive robot combat game. This page gives us an update on the N64 scene, starting with news of setbacks for two big hitters. Donkey Kong 64 is noted for its high price point linked to requiring the expansion pack, while the highly anticipated Perfect Dark has been pushed back until April 2000, as shown in the screenshots here. The game that was known as Zelda Gaiden is now confirmed for the West under the title The Legend of Zelda, the continuing saga, and we get a look at a screenshot showing the classic top-down perspective from the original. In other news, it looks like EA won't be bringing a new FIFA game to the N64 in 2000, focusing that franchise elsewhere. Nintendo is prepping a new Christmas bundle for the N64, which includes the console, a controller, Donkey Kong 64, and the necessary expansion pack, offering a better deal than buying them separately. Donkey Kong 64 also picked up the N64 Game of the Show award at ECTS. There's also some early chat about Nintendo's next console, codenamed Dolphin, with Shigeru Miyamoto discussing media formats and confirmation that Retro Studios is working on games for it. This page features the Game Watch section, giving us a comprehensive look at upcoming N64 releases. While it lists loads of games with their expected dates, the interesting bits here are the screenshots they've dropped in. We get a look at Earthworm Jim 3D, which was a bit of a departure for the character moving into the third dimension, Hybrid Heaven with its unique combat system, Rayman 2, Turok, Rage Wars, which was a spin-off focused on multiplayer, and Snowboard Kids 2. It's always good to see what's coming down the pipe. Elsewhere on the page there are a couple of competitions related to the N64. One is the Mini Mario competition offering discounts on model racers based on Mario Kart and Diddy Kong racing characters. The other is the Wheelie Easy competition, where you could win an ASC 2-wheel 64 steering wheel just by answering a simple question. This page is the letters section, where readers are having their say about all things N64. There's plenty to chew on here, with folks asking about Donkey Kong 64 and the expansion pack, and others getting worked up about the release date for Perfect Dark, picturing the queues on Christmas Eve. Readers are also debating the difficulty and length of N64 games, mentioning everything from GoldenEye's infamous Aztec level to Banjo-Kazooie and Perfect Dark. Another letter brings up the quality of game endings, pointing to Fighter's Destiny and even Ocarina of Time's finish. There's also a bit of worry about the N64 stacking up against the PlayStation and Dreamcast, listing off top games on other systems like Metal Gear Solid and Soul Calibur, while acknowledging the upcoming rare titles for N64. The importance of honest reviews gets a good shout out too. You can see some great screenshots dotted around, including Perfect Dark, Shadow Man, Star Wars, Episode I Racer, and Fighter's Destiny, plus a shot of Link getting ready with his bow. Naturally, the page also highlights the rather tasty star prize package you can win just by sending in a letter, which includes a proper N64 steering wheel and loads of other useful kit. And of course, the contact details if you fancy writing in yourself. This page is all about a cracker of a competition called Bug Out, where one lucky N64 owner could win a visit to Acclaim Studios, meet the designers behind games like Extreme G and Revolt, and even get to design a bug for the upcoming Armorines game. The main prize is truly something. Whoever wins walks away with a copy of every single Acclaim N64 game ever made. There's a whole pile of screenshots below showing various games, many of which are likely from the Acclaim catalog you could win. You've also got a massive advertisement here for Gameplay.com, a mail-order supplier for N64 consoles, accessories, and a huge list of games covering pretty much everything available at the time. They also list things like the Rumble Pack, memory card, controllers, and the all-important memory expansion pack. They're also selling second-hand games, and offer hint books and cheat cartridges. Looks like a one-stop shop for N64 fans back then. This page kicks off a feature about the classic rivalry between Nintendo and Sega, with a cracking image of Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog squaring off. The big headline declares Nintendo versus Sega, and that the console wars are restarting. Mario even has a speech bubble saying "Stitcher that." The article looks back at their long history of competing consoles, from the NES and Master System days, through the Game Boy and Game Gear, and the SNES and Mega Drive era. It talks about how Nintendo usually came out on top with better games, despite Sega sometimes having flashy advertising or slightly more powerful hardware. It then touches on the N64 struggles, with the PlayStation launch and the Saturn's troubles for Sega, leading into Sega's big push with the Dreamcast, highlighting it as their last chance. The feature poses the key question: is Mario now under threat from Sonic with the Dreamcast arriving? This comparison pits the Nintendo 64 against the Sega Dreamcast. The analysis covers tech specs, controllers, and available gadgets. The core of the comparison focuses on game libraries, broken down by genre. The N64 boasts titles like GoldenEye, F-Zero X, Super Mario 64, and ISS-98. The Dreamcast counters with House of the Dead 2, Sega Rally 2, Virtua Fighter 3 TB, Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure, and Shenmue. The future section highlights anticipated N64 games. Ultimately, the N64's game library strength led to a 6-3 final score victory over the Dreamcast, reflecting its wider appeal and lasting impact. This page previews games from 3D coming to the N64. It mentions Battle Tanks and its sequel, Battle Tanks 2, Global Assault, alongside Army Men, Sarge's Heroes. The feature focuses on Army Men, introducing the concept of plastic soldiers fighting, highlighting Sarge's Heroes as the follow-up to the original Army Men 3D. It shows portraits of some of Sarge's squad, like Sarge, Shrap, Scorch, Thick, Riff, Hoover, and Cole Grimm, explaining they unlock in multiplayer. There are screenshots showing the plastic soldier gameplay in environments like a kitchen and areas outside what looks like the White House. This page continues to look at 3Do's upcoming N64 titles. Army Men, Sarge's Heroes is covered in more detail, explaining the unique plasticine effect that makes the characters look like shiny plastic toys, and detailing Sarge's improved movement options including strafing, crawling, and climbing. The preview also highlights key weapons like the sniper rifle and flamethrower, and introduces Vicky Grimm, Colonel Grimm's daughter, as the love interest. Screenshots show Sarge fighting in both the kitchen setting and outdoors. The page also previews Battle Tanks 2, Global Assault, the sequel to the first tank combat game. It picks up the story, with the previous game's protagonist's son taking over the fight against mutant tank gangs across global locations. Key improvements highlighted are the expanded variety of tanks available, increased from 3 to 12, and enhanced weapons like guided missiles. Several tanks are showcased, including the Mototank, NAM 101, Hover Tank, Goliath, and Rhino. Screenshots show the destructive tank battles and the improved graphics. This page is an advert for Rayman 2, The Great Escape on 64, showcasing the platforming hero, gameplay screenshots, and quotes praising it as a remarkable and zaniest adventure. It was released on the 22nd of October. This page is a review of 40 Winks, a 3D adventure where kids rough and tumble journey through different dream worlds. They're trying to rescue the Winks from the villain Nightcap and his henchman Threadbare. The game features costumes that give the kids special powers, which are key to solving puzzles and getting through the levels. You collect items like dream keys and cogs to progress, and each world usually ends with a boss fight, like the scary spiders shown here. It looks like the difficulty ramps up quickly, and the review touches on the graphics, sound, costumes, and co-op mode, although it mentions the camera can be a bit tricky and some levels repeat, or are too dark. It's interesting they're reviewing this, as the N64 version never actually saw an official release back in the day. This page features the full review of 40 Winks. It covers the platforming action with rough and tumble journeying through dream worlds to stop Nightcap and rescue the Winks. The review highlights the use of costumes that give the kids unique abilities, essential for navigating levels and tackling boss fights like the one against Threadbare. It notes similarities to Banjo-Kazooie in structure and gameplay, though perhaps a bit simpler in terms of core puzzles. The review discusses the difficulty, particularly on medium, suggesting it's trickier than expected. However, it points out flaws like the camera system being inconsistent and the controls feeling awkward, especially with jumps and pushing objects, due to character inertia. The review includes sections for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, culminating in an 80% overall score. Screenshots showcase various levels, Ruff in his monster costume, Threadbare's boss entrance, and underwater sections. There are sidebars covering the two-player coupe mode, noting it's letterboxed, a breakdown of the N64 controller usage, alternative games, Banjo-Kazooie, Bomberman 64, and a competition to win a TV. A key point, of course, is that while reviewed here, the Nintendo 64 version of 40 Winks never actually made it to store shelves back when this magazine was current, which is a real shame given the review score. Konami's Hybrid Heaven, a long-delayed N64 title, is reviewed. The game's plot involves aliens and clones, with a unique combat system blending real-time action and RPG elements. Players can attack freely, managing a power bar for damage, and improve body parts with experience. Defense involves timed blocks. Exploration and simple puzzles are present, contrasting with the absent stealth elements of Metal Gear Solid. The review highlights the confusing opening, misdirecting the player about the main character. Screenshots showcase combat, enemy designs, and key moments from the opening cutscene. Positives include the intriguing plot, graphics, unusual combat, exploration, and enemy designs. However, the review also critiques the repetitive combat, problematic camera, and clunky controls. This page concludes the review of Konami's Hybrid Heaven. The main review continues, noting the vast size of the game world but criticizing the combat for taking up too much time and becoming repetitive, particularly against similar-looking enemies. It also mentions issues with the fixed camera angles in certain areas and the clunky controls making aiming difficult, impacting movement and defense. A second opinion offers a slightly different take, finding the turn-based fighting system works well despite not being a fan of the genre, though agreeing the constant story exposition can be a bit much. The page includes a detailed diagram showing the N64 controller layout for the game. There's also a section highlighting alternatives, like The Legend of Zelda and Castlevania, listing where their reviews appeared previously. A unique feature detailed is the Fight Club, a two-player mode where players can use the game's combat mechanics against each other, showcasing the step-by-step process of selecting moves and defending in several screenshots. The review provides ratings for various aspects, culminating in an overall score of 81%. The soundbite describes it as a good game that could have been great, hampered by minor flaws. Screenshots depict combat encounters, a dialogue scene, and the interface for the two-player mode. This page delves into the world of Pokémon Snap, a rather unique offering on the N64. It's essentially an on-rails experience, but instead of shooting enemies, you're taking photos of Pokémon as you travel through various environments on Pokémon Island. The game sees you playing as Todd, hired by Professor Oak to document all the Pokémon species. You ride along in the Zeroom vehicle, which is quite the versatile contraption. As you progress through the different courses, the beach, tunnel, volcano and so on, you need to use items like apples, pesteballs, and the Pokeflute to coax the Pokémon out, encourage reactions, or even trigger evolutions to get the best shots. The review highlights that finding all the Pokémon isn't always straightforward. Some are hidden and require specific actions or items to appear. There are 7 courses in total, with a secret route at the end containing a rare Pokémon. Screenshots show various Pokémon in action, like Jigglypuff, Slowbro, Snorlax, Pikachu, Moltres, Mew, Bulbasaur, and Rapidash. We also see Professor Oak and the Zeroom vehicle itself. The interface, showing the camera reticle and item selection, is also visible in the screenshots. It's a charming departure from the usual Pokémon fare, focusing entirely on the creatures themselves and interacting with them in a non-combative way to get those perfect pictures for Professor Oak's report. This page carries on with the look at Pokémon Snap, delving deeper into the mechanics and the review itself. It talks about how using the Pokeflute gets Pokémon dancing and doing unusual things for better scores, and how the scoring system rewards quality and unique moments. There are details about the picture-perfect aspect, explaining that scoring is crucial to unlocking the final course, which adds a compelling reason to replay levels. The review notes the game feels surprisingly addictive despite being short, covering 7 courses, and mentions finding 54 out of the 63 Pokémon quickly. Screenshots here show a Chansey, a Squirtle by the river, and a Mankey that needs to be knocked onto a switch to progress, along with a stunning shot of Articuno. There's a whole section dedicated to the Charmander evolution chain, showing how interacting with Charmander using an apple in a lava pool leads to Charmeleon and eventually a much bigger Charizard. The review gives a solid score of 88% overall, rating graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge highly. The second opinion piece by Roy Kimber offers a perspective on the unique concept of a photography game being enjoyable. The final soundbite calls it a disturbingly addictive photo safari. This page covers the new Tetris, a solid entry in the long-running puzzle series for the N64. It dives into the different game modes on offer. Marathon for a classic endless game, Sprint where you race against the clock to clear lines, and Ultra, which has a timer count. Crucially, it highlights the excellent 4-player option, making it a great party game. A neat new feature is the Wonders, which are impressive visual backdrops unlocked by clearing a certain number of lines. The graphics are well done for Tetris, with these environments adding some flair. Another unique element is the ability to store a block at the side of the screen, adding a layer of strategy to placing pieces. Overall, the review finds it a very good Tetris game, especially praising the multiplayer and graphics, giving it an overall score of 80%. It notes memory packs are supported for saving scores. The rest of the page is taken up with extensive adverts from the Excitement Direct specialists, selling N64 consoles, games, accessories like the Shockforce Rumble Pad and Mad Catz Wheel, various action figures and guidebooks. Rat Attack, a cult classic on the N64, is an arcade-style game where players control feline superheroes, the Scratch Cats, tasked with trapping mutant rats. The game draws comparisons to Robotron and Kicks, featuring arena-based gameplay and swarm-based enemy destruction. Players can choose from various cats with unique abilities and navigate wacky environments. The core gameplay involves trapping rats using a high-tech field, described as hectic due to the fast pace. The game features a slightly pulled-back camera, keeping the action clear. The multiplayer mode, supporting up to 4 players, is highlighted as a source of fun. The review gives the game an 80%, praising its fast action, unique premise, level variety, and enjoyable multiplayer experience, concluding that it offers intense arcade fun. This page features 2 absolute classics from the N64 library, both given the player's choice seal of approval. On the left is GoldenEye, still hailed as one of the very best games on the console, a brilliant shoot-'em-up based on the Bond film. It highlights the challenging single-player campaign, with levels taken from the movie, and, perhaps more importantly, the incredibly popular and frenzied 4-player deathmatch mode that kept this game relevant for years. Screenshots show action from both the single-player and multiplayer aspects. It receives a massive 95% overall. Door A. On the right is Super Mario 64, the console's launch title and a true revolution in 3D gaming. Described as the N64's first game and a sizzler, the review talks about how its revolutionary visuals and deep gameplay set the standard. It mentions wandering the worlds, mini-challenges, and the main goal of rescuing the princess. Screenshots show Mario interacting with various characters like Bowser and a Koopa Trooper in different environments. It scores a fantastic 92% overall. Both pages also include brief notes on controls and alternative games. This page features 2 more absolute crackers from the N64 player's choice range. On the left, we have Banjo-Kazooie. This was seen as a natural evolution from Mario 64, building on the 3D platforming formula with improved graphics and special effects. The review notes it's easier to complete than Mario 64 and has a more linear structure, which slightly affects its long-term replay value compared to Mario. However, it's still praised for being great fun with lots of effort and imagination, featuring enormous levels filled with plenty to discover, and some genuinely bizarre characters, like Captain Blubber the Hippo Pirate shown in one screenshot. The review also points out the cheat system accessed via a puzzle board. Overall, it's an entertaining platform adventure that scores a solid 90%. On the right is 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, hailed as a fantastic snowboarding simulation. The review highlights its superb control system using the analog stick, which provides excellent feel for carving down the slopes and performing stunts. It's noted as one of the few games where the Rumble Pack actually enhances gameplay by simulating the surface texture. The multiplayer is limited to 2 players, which is a bit of a shame compared to other racing games. However, the AI is described as challenging, sometimes resorting to cheating to stay ahead. Despite minor frustrations, it's considered an extremely good winter sports game that's definitely worth a go. It scores an impressive 82% overall, described as the ultimate snowboarding simulation. This page features a deep dive into F-Zero X, a game all about speed on the N64. It's a racer that really pushes the console, focusing on pure pace and hitting a smooth 60 frames per second, making it incredibly fast-paced. The review highlights that skill and reflexes are absolutely key to mastering the game, especially with the large number of computer-controlled opponents on the track. The courses themselves are a major part of the fun, with a random track generator adding huge replay value and featuring wild twists and loops that can be quite disorienting but exhilarating. While it might not have the flashiest visuals, the review makes it clear this is intentional to maintain that blistering speed and challenge, proving it's one of the most heart-pounding races out there. It scores a very strong 90% overall. Other racing alternatives like Wipeout 64 are also mentioned. Cheat Central provides helpful guides for several N64 games. For Mario Golf, players find tips to improve their game. Revolt racers learn how to unlock bonus content. Command & Conquer strategists discover money-saving build orders. Load Runner 3D features a level select cheat. The new Tetris offers a super-fast mode. A Bug's Life includes an invincibility cheat. Fisherman Bass Hunter 64 lists secret codes for various effects. Lastly, Rugrats Scavenger Hunt players can unlock a secret level, Also included is an N64 controller layout diagram. This page is the score zone section, where players could send in their best times and scores from various N64 games to appear in the magazine. It features submitted records for games like Legend of Zelda, Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, Snowboard Kids, Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, Turok, Chameleon Twist, F1 WGP, Top Gear Rally, and Beetle Adventure Racing, showcasing the community's dedication to mastering these titles. There are also small screenshots showing gameplay moments from some of the featured games, and an explanation of how to submit your own high scores. This page is another helping of the score zone, where dedicated players sent in their best times and scores. Here we've got records for Micro Machines, 64 Turbo, FEV0X, Mario Kart 64, and Diddy Kong Racing. Further down, there are scores for 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, Blastcore, and Tetrisphere. There's also the magazine pin board, featuring photos of players, the Score Zone Challenge with a Quake 2 screenshot, and details on the Ultimate Player competition offering N64 gear. This page is packed with competitions giving you the chance to win ace prizes, including the latest consoles like the Nintendo 64 and the Dreamcast, plus cracking games like Pokémon Red and Blue, and loads of other electronics and goodies too. This page is a cracking playing guide for Mario Golf on the N64. It kicks off with a look at the characters available, detailing their drive distance and swing style, and explains that you start with 4, but you'll need to unlock the others by beating them, or achieving certain goals like collecting birdie badges for Metal Mario, or ringshot stars for Donkey Kong. It also mentions that some characters, the final 4, could only be unlocked via a Game Boy Link accessory, which was a bit novel back then. There are also some handy tips, covering things like how to make players left-handed, changing costumes for a bit of fun, and even a cheeky save and quit trick to ensure you nail those tough holes for a perfect score. Plus, it touches on player interaction like cheering or taunting during a match. It finishes up by mentioning a deeper dive into tackling some of the trickier holes on the courses. This page dives into the actual golf with a comprehensive guide to tackling tricky holes across the different courses in Mario Golf. It gives strategies for specific holes on Toad Highlands, Cooper Park, Shy Guy Desert, and Yoshi's Island, detailing how to navigate obstacles like lakes, bunkers, rough, hills, cliffs, and rivers. The guide offers tips on compensating for wind, using player strengths, cutting corners, and aiming for birdies or even eagles on challenging par 3s, 4s, and 5s, like the long par 5s or the par 3 on Yoshi's Island that looks simple but bites back. It's packed with advice on avoiding hazards and reaching the green efficiently. This guide explores challenging courses in Mario Golf, focusing on Boo Valley and Mario's Star. Boo Valley's Hole 8, Into the Abyss, is a deceptive par 3 with a dangerous pit, emphasizing fairway play. Hole 9, the Narrow Bridge, requires precise first shots to reach the fairway. Mario's Star presents tougher tests. Wiggler's Wonders, Hole 3, demands accurate aiming around Wiggler's body. Tad's Tricky Teaser, Hole 12, is a par 3 with sand and water, making wind assessment vital. Through the Trees, Hole 17, offers a risky shortcut for big hitters. The Bow Wow Problem, Hole 16, is a sand-surrounded par 4 that rewards accuracy, showcasing the increased difficulty of these later courses. This page is a comprehensive advert offering special deals on Nintendo 64 strategy guides and books, including guides for games like Banjo-Kazooie, Zelda 64, Turok 2, and GoldenEye, with various volumes of secrets, strategies, and solutions books available via multiple ordering methods. This page promotes the magazine subscription with a big mega deal. You got the mag bundled with cracking games like Zelda 64, GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, Quake 2, and Rogue Squadron, plus you could pick a strategy guide like the As of Nintendo 64 Volume 2. You could also order back issues. This page presents the magazine's comprehensive Nindex, a guide to every N64 game they had reviewed up to that point. It lists details like how many players can join in, if they use the memory, rumble or expansion packs, which issue the review appeared in, and the score awarded, along with a brief comment. There's also a key explaining what each column means, and descriptions for the different game genres. On the right side, it highlights their current Our Top 10 N64 games, featuring screenshots from titles like Zelda 64, GoldenEye, Mario 64, and Banjo-Kazooie. The background image looks like the pilot from Rogue Squadron, which makes sense as that game is also in the top 10 list. This page continues the comprehensive Nindex listing all the N64 games reviewed so far, detailing scores, issues, and pack compatibility. It also features 64 Magazine's top 5 lists across different genres, shoot-'em-ups, with GoldenEye at number 1, fighting games, headed by Smash Brothers, adventure games, Zelda Ocarina of Time takes the top spot, and platform games, led by Banjo-Kazooie. There's a Test of Time section revisiting reviews for Rogue Squadron, South Park, and Micro Machines 64 Turbo to see if their scores changed. Finally, the Best of the Bits highlights recommended peripherals like the official Nintendo controller and the 4 meg memory card. This page continues the Nindex listing all the Nintendo 64 games reviewed in the magazine so far. It also features the magazine's top 5 lists for racing, party/puzzle, sports, and strategy/simulation games, highlighting some of the best titles in each genre like IS-98 and Command & Conquer based on their reviews. There's a section dedicated to the most wanted games coming up. This includes Perfect Dark, talked about as the highly anticipated follow-up to the classic GoldenEye, which was a groundbreaking shooter. Rainbow Six is also featured, bringing its unique tactical approach to the console. The next Zelda game, referred to here as Zelda Gaiden, is previewed as the successor to the legendary Ocarina of Time, promising another epic adventure. Ridge Racer 64 is shown, known for its solid arcade racing feel, though primarily released in North America first. Donkey Kong 64 is highlighted as a major Nintendo title, and it's noted that it requires the expansion pack. Speaking of the expansion pack, there's a feature explaining how this hardware upgrade improves graphics and performance for certain 64 games. It lists a load of titles that either utilize it or require it, separated into games available now like Quake 2 and Shadow Man, and those coming soon, such as Jet Force Gemini and Perfect Dark. You can see screenshots showing the enhanced visuals in Duke Nukem, Zero Hour, and Jet Force Gemini, along with a picture of the expansion pack itself. This page serves as a cover page, prominently featuring the upcoming issue with a full review of Rare's Jet Force Gemini, described as a dark horse shoot-'em-up, complete with characters like the dog Juno and the antagonist Mazar shown in screenshots. Rayman 2 gets a feature too, showing Ubisoft's limbless hero and asking for the verdict, along with a screenshot from the game. There's a list of games reviewed in this issue, including Earthworm Jim, Worms Armageddon, Knockout Kings 2000, Roadsters Trophy, Gex 3, Deep Cover Gecko, Carmageddon, Asteroids Hyper 64, Battlezone, and Bass Hunter. The upcoming issue previews list features Donkey Kong 64, Rocket, Robot on Wheels, Armorines, Project Swarm, Dragon Sword, which sadly never saw the light of day on N64, Ridge Racer 64, Ready to Rumble, StarCraft 64, and ISS Millennium. The rest of the page is dominated by large advertisements. A major one is for Special Reserve, offering various deals on 64 games and hardware like controllers and the Explorer 64 cheat cartridge, detailing how to order and listing their club shops and online discount network. There are also smaller ads for things like internet services and the Game Boy Color.